Hello there and welcome back. In a previous video, I explained a little bit about the creative digital activity tool that Teachers Pay Teachers is testing out right now. Now, not every seller has signed on to allow this, but I am one of the authors that is allowing this to happen. What you are looking for are the individual standalone PDF files, and this is one of the examples of a standing PDF file. There are no other PDF files within this. It's not a bundle. Currently, they aren't allowing us to do bundles. That might happen down the road. So for those of you who really are excited to use that for a bundle, you might have to wait. But here's how you're going to know whether or not you can actually create a digital activity or not. When you click on a previous purchase, or you're looking for something new to buy, you will see underneath where the cost of the item is and all of that, you will see another gray box, and it will tell you if it is compatible as a digital activity or if you can go ahead and create a digital activity. Now, what's neat about this is that not only do the sellers are they able to create a digital activity for you to use and for them themselves, but you yourself can do that. And why is that important? Well, honestly, with all the different products that I have, if I took the time to create a digital activity for every single file that I have, I would not have time to create new educational resources. So this way you can turn something into a digital activity perhaps that I might not have time to get to. So that being said, I have already gone ahead and selected a couple of different products and created my own digital activity to try it out. If, for instance, you have this particular resource, I'm going to demonstrate on this, you would click on the Create a Digital Activity and you are going to see something like this. I've actually taken, if you look at the total page number here, it's a 4-page count, and I have taken a resource that was originally 34 pages and I've dropped it down to 4 pages because basically with that particular resource there were different color variations, so everybody has a different printing option. There were black and white options, and I chose to use only the color options because I know that when I'm using this digitally I don't have to print it and waste the ink, and I know that my students and a lot of other students like the more colorful options compared to a black and white option. So I've picked out, there were 4 basic types of biographies and I picked out one of each. So when you look at this, this is the younger version and it has the United States as the background, and then there's it's the same mini biography but it has the American flag, and then I have the bullet point one which has a little bit more information for middle of the age level here for your students, and then for the upper end of your students there's the actual full biography here. And then what's cool about this is you can turn what was an actual just a plain paper biography into a real worksheet. So I'm going to pretend that I just purchased this and I've decided that we're going to be doing homebound learning for the first couple of weeks of school, and so I'm going to need to use a digital activity. So when I click on this, I'm going to be taken directly to this, and this is how it looks to both you and I. So you will see just those 4 pages. If you wanted a different page, you always have the option of adding that in. You can go up to Edit Pages, and then if you say to add from the original, that's in the top right corner here, you would be able to see the entire PDF file and you could choose. So if you wanted to use just the black and white version of something, then you could do that. But I selected the 4 basic color versions that I wanted to do. Now for this purpose, I'm going to say that I want to single out one particular page. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 3 younger pages, or I should say the younger level pages, and I am going to go ahead and select remove because I don't want to be able to have my older students have access to those. So I'm going to say remove. And now I just have the full biography here for the students, and I'm going to say save changes. And now there's only 1 page. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to rename this so that I'm going to know it's strictly just that 1 biography for my older students. To do that, I'm going to click on the pen or the marker up here, and to edit it, I'm renaming it right now John Williams Biographies. I might want to make it just a single biography so I know that it's just the 1. And I was going to say that it put the name in older students or older, but I don't want them to know that there are the different versions. So I'm just going to leave it as John Williams Biography Full Bio. And now I'm going to say done. Now watch what happens. When I hit this back arrow, it's going to take me to all of my activities that I have created. And this is important because you are now going to be able to assign this to your students via Google Classroom. When you actually go to assign it, you will notice that there is this turned in column here, and this will tell you the amount of students that have actually turned in the assignment. And you could click on this, and then it would take you to things like the particular class. It would take you to the actual students, and you could click on the individual students' names to grade it. So how do you assign something like this? I'm going to go back to that actual biography, and I'm clicking on it, and you will notice that there are a couple other tabs up here at the top. There's the preview button, and that's for the teacher so that you can see and change things. So if you don't like the directions that I put in here, or you don't like the colors, or you don't like the questions, then you can edit these yourselves by simply clicking on the actual item. You could change the words here. You can change the color by going up here and selecting. So if you wanted that to be green, you could do that. And then you could also say maybe you want them to do something different. Maybe you don't want them to use the highlighter tool, whatever. You can change that. If you don't want them to actually type in an answer, you can remove that. And all you would have to do is to actually go to the delete or the eraser button. Once you click on that, then you click on the item you want to get rid of, and there it is. But I'm going to put that answer box back in because I want my students to have the ability to be able to type their answer in for me. So I'm all good to go here. If you want to see what the students see, you would click on the preview button, and you could test it out yourself. So if you wanted to test out the highlighting tool, you would click on that. I'm going to click on thick. It says to highlight his name in the article. I've done that, and then I'm going to hit my select button so I don't accidentally highlight something else. It's asking you to name the two groups or of the organizations where he actually was a conductor. So they will need the text tool, and they're going to be typing it in. So they can actually change the color of their text as well. When you select one of these colors, though, you can notice how it's got another circle around it. It won't stay that way, but the color changed up here. So the students can have access to changing the colors if they wish, and then they can also change how big or small the text will be itself. The same thing goes for the pen tool. I know that one of the questions asks specifically for the students to actually underline the genres that he is known for. So if I stay on this thick line here, it's going to cover up some of the words. I'm going to go with thin, and I'm going to choose maybe orange to make it stand out more. And then they would just simply use their mouse, or if they're on a tablet, they can use their finger or a stylus, and they would underline the genres. They could do them all together. They could do them individually. But that way they're showing that they know where the genres are and what they are. But we're ready to assign this. So I'm going to click on the Assign tab, and you will see that you have a new screen that pops up, and it's going to give you an access link for your students to access this through Google Classroom. This is one of the data things that I talked about that Teachers Pay Teachers is keeping track of. They want to know which particular pages and products people are using that seems to be most helpful with. I think that's partially because they aren't giving us access to all the PDFs that we can convert over. And before they do that, they need to know what teachers like the best and what their students are able to use. So in Google Classroom, some people are still relatively new to using this. I know at our school that even the first graders and the kindergartners are going to be using Google Classroom for this next school year. And so a lot of those teachers are totally unfamiliar with it, and they might not be sure on how to actually assign an activity for each student individually. But with Teachers Pay Teachers, it automatically does that for you, and that's what this is telling you. And because we created just the one page, we selected a certain page from that PDF. That way we can gear that towards a certain grade level of students for us. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, before I click on this, we're going to actually click on the Create Access link. But if you want, you can click on this Getting Started Guide. This is that slide presentation that Teachers Pay Teachers put together for you and I so that we would understand how to do things with a digital tool, what we could do, and it shows a really good step-by-step procedure for us. You can access it the way we just did, or you can also get it underneath the activity tool where it says that to create the digital activity, there's a link here, and that gives you the same slideshow. But I hit my back button because I want to assign this as an actual assignment for my students. So I'm going to click on create an access link. And again, this is going to hook you up to your Google Classroom. You're going to have to do this ahead of time, possibly. I've already linked up one of my accounts with this to show you. I talk in the previous video the basic information about them using this through Google Classroom and why they're collecting some data and things like that. So if you want to know about all of that, take a listen or watch that video, and maybe you'll have some of your answers given for you here. Again, right now we are still in the process of assigning. This seems kind of tedious and cumbersome right now, but it is still in the beta testing. So all you have to do is to click on the Google Classroom here. And but before I do that, you will see that it says when it was created. It gives you the access code here, and it tells you how many students have turned it in, which we haven't even assigned it yet. And it tells you that you can review their responses by clicking here. Now, what's kind of neat is that if you're like me and you have multiple classes, you can create a different code to group the responses by class. So like I currently have 2 different sections of every grade level, and so I would want to do that for each class that I assign this to. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Google Classroom icon, and you get something that might look a little familiar. It kind of looks like what we've seen in Google Classroom. I want you to pay attention though to which account you are actually in. I have 4 different accounts for myself. One is strictly for school, and then the others are for different things. So what you need to pay attention to make sure that you're actually in your school one. So you would, if you don't recognize your logo or your icon up here, you would actually click on that and get your drop-down menu of the other Google accounts that you have. So make sure that you have your school logo up here or the school picture that you're using for your Google Classroom. So once you have that and you've put in that that's your real classroom, you're going to hit the drop-down menu and choose your class. And I'm going to say I'm going to give it to 3C, and then to choose my action. And again, this is something similar to what you would see in regular Google Classroom. It is going to be to create an assignment. Some people call it material. This is up to you. I'm going to say create an assignment, and I'm going to say go. And again, this looks very familiar, just like what we see in Google Classroom, because it is actually hooking this all up to your classroom. So I've given it a title. I've put in some instructions. This is going to be the actual link. Teachers Pay Teachers does that all by themselves. It's hooked up automatically. You can assign this again through the different classes if you want. If you want them all to have the same thing, and you don't care about what folder that would go to, then go for it. For me, I would probably, if I put in 2 sections here, I would only select the original one, and then I would go back and get another access code for the other 3rd grade class. So you can select if you want it to be all the students or just some of the students. You can select how many points this is going to be worth. You can select your due date and the topic. Again, all things that should be familiar to you with Google. And then you're ready to say assign. You should get a confirmation that says that you have posted this to your classroom. And if I click on view, this takes me to my classroom. It automatically by default opens to stream to show you everything in the chronological order. But I went ahead and clicked on the classwork, and here is the assignment. And so there are a couple neat things you can still do. So you can, when you click on this, you'll see what the assignment looks like. It's just like we said, that it was assigned to 1 student because that's all I put in for this class. And then here's the activity. They would click on that and it would take them directly to that worksheet that you saw. This is exactly how it's going to look to the student on their end. Now what's kind of nice is you could, if you wanted, you could go back into this and you could hit the traffic light up here and you could edit it, and you could actually put in some links to some YouTube videos if you wanted of some of his music. So you can still alter that assignment a little bit within there. Again, this is the actual assignment, the biography here. And if I wanted to give that to another class, I would create a new code and go through that whole process again. You can see that if I click on the review responses, I'm still waiting for the students to log in and to do it. I'm going to go ahead and hit back. But this is, again, with the actual, it's hooked up to your John Williams biography, and it is listed under your My Activities. And there it is. I do highly recommend that you go ahead and click on the link to get the slide presentation from Teachers Pay Teachers. It will talk you through step by step on how you're going to know where to find resources that you've already purchased or that you're looking at that will allow you to do this with the tool. It talks you step by step on how to add the text and how to add answer boxes. And then it even talks you through some of the assignments through Google Classroom. But the neatest part that you're going to want to know is, where do you find this? So when you go to look at this work that the students have turned in, you're not going to see this in your actual Google Classroom. Where you're going, I mean, you can see the assignment, but you're not going to see that they turned it in. I haven't found a really handy way to actually find that link on Teachers Pay Teachers to access your activities that you've created with the digital activities tool. So that's why I think the slide presentation is really helpful, because currently on page 13 there is a link to my activities, and when you click on that it'll take you to your own digital activity page. This is where you're going to find out how many students have turned them in. You'll click on the actual assignment. You can take a look at when it was created, and you can view your student responses. That's how you know who's going to turn something in. So let me show you what it looks like on the student end. I'm logged in as my student Ludwig von Beethoven, and here's his classwork assignment here. And so when he clicks on this, you can see the description and all that, and when he clicks on this, it's going to take him to that activity. It gives that access code that we saw earlier. All he has to do right now is to hit enter, and the worksheet is right here. Now you will notice that, as I mentioned, they don't actually turn it in through Google Classroom. They would turn it in here. So let's pretend like he's already filled this out. So he would simply turn it in right here in the right hand corner to say turn in. And it's going to ask him, are you sure you're done? And he's going to say yes, turn in. And look, he gets a little confetti. Your activity was turned in, so he got notified. And what does that look like on our end as a teacher? Well, looky here, I have one student who has turned that in. And so if I click on responses, I think he's my only student in that classroom right now. Because normally if you had more students here, you'd see all their names here once they turned their assignment in. So I'm going to go ahead and click on his assignment, take a look at what he did, and then I can grade that. And then when I'm ready, I can return it back. Now, once I return it back, he has access to changing things again. Now again, pros and cons. A pro is that you can take any of the PDFs, not any, but most of the PDFs that you've purchased, and you can turn what was once just only a paper worksheet into a digital activity. So it's saving you money. Con-wise, I don't like this as well. There's a lot more steps to it, and I can't actually put in the student's grade. I mean, I could write with a pen tool on it to say what their actual grade was, but in Google Classroom, I can actually put in the grade that they got, so the student's going to know right away. I also personally like to use the digital stickers that a lot of the clip artists have been creating for us, so I can't put that in through this way with the digital activities tool, but if I'm in a regular Google Classroom, I can do that. Before I go, I wanted to check what it looked like on my teacher end within my classroom itself. So I can see that it was assigned to 2 students, and that's probably all that I actually put into this classroom. And when I click on that, let's see what happens. So I can see that both of these students have done it. You don't get the notification here that they've actually turned it in because they can't physically turn it in through Google Classroom. And I bet if I click on this, yeah, it doesn't take me anywhere. I can't actually see their assignment. So you can only access that through Teachers Pay Teachers, the My Activities page. So again, that's to me a con because it's more work for us in some regards. But I guess when it comes down to it, if you want to take one of your paper resources, and if you're one of those teachers that you don't have the funds to get something that was designed specifically for Google that you could use, this is an alternative for you. So as I mentioned before in a previous video, you and I together are test marketing this. We're seeing what works and what doesn't work currently. Not all of the sellers have bought into this idea yet. So if you have some comments and feedback, you can let me know. You can also contact Teachers Pay Teachers to let them know how you feel about this. It's obviously a work in development, but at least you can take something that you previously purchased and you can reutilize it in a different format. So let us know, and good luck.